Welcome everybody to this career discovery session with Ask the Professionals. We have Tammy McKenzie and Becky Bass joining us from Carroll High School today, and we're excited to have them with us to discuss their professions and how they got into the field of education. So Becky and Tammy, would you please introduce yourself and give us a little background on your career path?
Hi, my name is Tammy McKenzie, and I'm the principal here at Carroll High School. I have an undergrad degree in art education, and I then later in my career decided to go into administration. I am unique in that I am a graduate of Carroll High School. I was the teacher here for 5 years, the assistant principal, and now I am the principal. And one unique thing about me is that I'm very proud of, is I am the first woman principal at Carroll High School.
I am Becky Bass. I actually was the English teacher here for 17 years before moving into the instructional coach role. So I'm on year 4 of serving in that position. And in the meantime, done all kinds of things from large group speech, individual speech, National Honor Society, a little bit of everything. So other duties as assigned through the years, but this is my primary role now.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit about your educational background. So starting with undergrad, and then if you did any master's or PhD programs, where did you go and what was your major?
Okay, I'll start. I attended Cornell College in Mount Vernon, Iowa, with an emphasis in art education and also coaching. And that's a small private college that had a little bit different approach to their instruction, and I really enjoyed that a lot, and I felt like I got a great education. I then taught for approximately 12 years before I was approached about getting my ed leadership degree. And at the time, Drake University had a nice program that allowed for me to be the assistant principal here and get my degree at the same time. I wasn't officially called an assistant principal because I didn't have my degree. I was a dean of students. And so that was a 2-year program. I would go on the weekends and some classes in the summer, and that was a 2-year program. So I have my master's in educational leadership.
Awesome. How about you, Becky?
I have my undergrad degree from Iowa State. I was English major, psychology minor, emphasis in secondary education. I student taught in an exchange program in Omaha, not a very far exchange from Ames, but it was Omaha. And wanting to move back, my first year of teaching was actually at a day treatment center in Denison. It was a boys and girls home day treatment, which was an interesting experience to start, and then a position opened up here at Carroll, and I've been here ever since.
Great. And I have a follow-up for you just with that. What do you think made you interested in pursuing education, if you can think back to that? Was there something that sparked an interest in you, or how did you decide to study the educational field?
Well, for me, it was a teacher that I had when I went to school, and that was my art teacher. And I saw how much she enjoyed what she did and how much of a difference she made, not only in the other students, but in me personally. And she gave me confidence in that area. I also was a sports person, and I loved participating, and I wanted to coach. And so it just was a natural fit for me, as well as my older sister was going for music education. So that had an influence on me as well.
I'm one of those people that I was born and raised and built to be this. From the moment I can remember having any kind of memory, this is what I wanted to do. I had a basement classroom through my childhood. I kept my own grade books. I obviously was a little bit nerdy, but that innate passion in me never went away. I was the kid who sat in the back of the room super quiet, but when the teacher taught the lesson, I could tell why kids couldn't get it. And I think in my head, if they just said this, I know that kid would get it, but you never said anything because you didn't want to contradict the teacher. This is like how I'm wired. Like, this is where I'm meant to be.
I love that because it shows different, different things can lead you to exploring careers. Obviously, some people are like you, Becky, that they know from a very young age what they want to do and what they're meant to do. And sometimes, like you, Tammy, it is someone that you've looked up to or a relationship that you've developed that kind of encourages you into that field. So thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. Jill, do you have the next question for us?
Yeah. What would you say is your biggest win in your career this far?
Ooh, that's a tougher question.
Mm-hmm. That is a tough question. I feel like, and this is going to sound cheesy, but I think just making a difference in students' lives. I think every day I come here that we have a great day. I feel like that's a win. But if I had to pick something in particular, well, there's a couple things. Probably our Blue Ribbon School award that we got in 2012. That made all of us proud. And it was because of the great group of teachers that we have here that happened. But I'm going to go back to something else I said, is becoming a woman in this role. I just really feel like that's an accomplishment. And I don't necessarily feel like, that's why I'm here or anything other than that. But I do believe that I've been in leadership long enough and I've had enough people that I've worked with that it's just a little different approach sometimes to working with people. And I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent, but it's a traditionally a male dominated role. And so I guess I would have to say that.
Mine's a little bit different. When you go into teaching, there's a lot of days where you hope you're doing your best and you try to serve all these diverse needs of your kids, and you literally just give it all you got, but you don't always know the impact you're having. So I think for me, the quiet win is when somebody graduates and they reach out to you privately, or upon leaving the high school, they'll leave a little note on your desk. And when you don't even realize that the little things you were doing had such a profound impact, that's when it hits you about like what your purpose and your meaning is of coming to work every day. And it's a reminder to keep going, even on the days where you don't see that, you don't have that reminder. So for me, it's a quiet win. It's behind the scenes and not even realizing the impact you have on other human beings.
Yeah, I love both of those stories. And I do think when I think about people in education, it's kind of that delayed gratification sometimes, right? But it also, I think it doesn't, what I'm hearing it doesn't maybe take too much. Like when you see someone that you've taught in the past and you realize that you made that little impact on them and they're now doing something great with their life, you made a difference in their life. And I think back on some of the educators that I had, and I know I feel that way. And I never got the chance to really tell them that because your paths don't cross once you are graduated. But educators have such a big impact on so many students. So kudos to both of you. I think you're fantastic representatives of the profession, and think so highly of both of you. So thank you for that. What do you think are important personality traits for someone that is thinking about getting into a career in education? What skills and what personality traits do you think is important to have?
Well, that's an interesting question because as you know, this time of year is hiring time. We're filling positions. And so as we interview people and you get practice in doing that, you become more attuned to what it is you're looking for. And I would have to say, first and foremost, would be an empathetic approach to dealing with human beings. I also look for somebody that's coachable, because every school is just slightly different in how they approach, and that culture and climate is really important. And in this day and age, if you can't work with someone else, it's a true detriment to the profession. So we look for individuals who can bring us evidence of collaboration, or that we can listen to answers and look at past experiences to show that they are a team player. I would say those are some of my top three.
In any profession, hire for what you can't train. So when Tammy says that they're coachable, you can't train a positive attitude. You can't train a team player. So there's a lot of things that you can coach people on. So, but always make the hire for what you can't train. And so if somebody comes in here who's optimistic, positive, goal-driven, and is willing to work with others, that sets them light years apart. And I would probably say that that's true. Those characteristics are probably true for almost every profession. That if you have those things within you innately, it's going to set you apart.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a great point to point out, is that the willingness to learn and working with other people is essentially going to be a part of a career at any point. So that's perfect. What would you describe like one of your typical working days? Being a principal and an instructional coach, obviously you both are working with lots of people throughout the day, internally and externally. And so do you have, like, how do you stay organized with all of that? Number one. And then how many hours like a week do you work? And, even though school is Monday through Friday, do you find yourself also doing things on the weekends as well?
Boy, there really is no such thing as a typical day. My goal for the day is to get everybody here safely, and then hope they get home safely. That's kind of how the front end and the back end of the day looks. But I would say this: if you are a person who has to have a day that's routine every day, and from this time to this time I'm going to do this, and from this time to this time I'm going to do this, do not become an educator or a high school principal, because it doesn't work that way. And quite honestly, I don't like jobs that are that way. I like the unpredictability of the day-to-day operation of our school. Now, that said, part of my responsibility is to get into classrooms, observe teachers, talk to students, work with the instructional coach to plan this, that, and the other thing, take phone calls from parents, make phone calls. So I feel bad that I can't give you more of a scripted, what's a typical day look like, because I can't. There is no typical day. A typical day is an atypical day. If that sounds, if that
We're not
makes sense.
often bored.
No, no. And the days fly. I mean, the days go so quickly. As far as how many hours do I put into a day? To be honest with you, I don't ever calculate that. I'm kind of on duty all the time, but that's by choice. For some people, that's not healthy. I can manage that. I work at night, I work in the mornings, I work on weekends if I need to. So, because this isn't a typical day, there are things I have to get done, and I can't do those. I can't take care of students and teachers when they're not in the building. So that's my priority during the day. The other stuff I can do by myself. So I don't know if that.
And I would say there is no such thing as typical, but that just makes life interesting.
Mhm.
Like this morning when I got here, a teacher wanted to discuss, she wasn't happy with the test she gave and the results she got. So while I'm talking with her, another teacher had to go home because he thought his pipes might burst and the power was out of his house. So she walked with me to his class. I covered his first period. In the meeting I had set up for 8 o'clock, that person just came and met with me while I was covering the class. Like that's just how life goes. But the whole goal for my job is to support students and teachers in whatever capacity that they need. And that's just what I do. And every day that looks different. And thank goodness it does. And it's challenging, but it's so fun. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. And those kids' first period, I think they thought it was hilarious this morning. They were entertained by all of it. So at least they woke up a little bit, first period's tough. They were with me. So it's all good things, but it is every day. I can't even tell you 2 days in a row that look the same.
No. And we know that the first bell rings at 8:15 and the last bell rings at 3:20, but we kind of don't operate by that.
No, and I should comment too, like for me outside of school, when I became the instructional coach, I readily gave out my cell phone number. Some people do, there's different beliefs on that, but it was easier for people to reach me, especially if something came up in the middle of the school day. If I would just keep my phone on me, I'd check that faster than I would email. So that was just a practice I started, but I used to have my school email set up to my phone. I took that off. And we're at different places in our life. Like Tammy's children are grown and raised. I still have children at home. When that weekend comes, nothing will ever come before my children.
Right.
And so do I still receive texts? Do I still have the incidentals? Yes, but I don't readily choose that on a regular basis unless there's something imperative going on that I need to handle. And my focus is my family. I think you have to have that balance and take care of your spirit and your life and safeguard that. So that's what I do.
Right. And I don't disagree with that. Mine is by choice. I mean, I could as soon as I walk out here and I'd still be fine, but that's just my personality and where I am in my life.
Yep.
So I do give my husband a little of attention once in a while.
You wave at him.
That's what I say. Hello. So.
No, that's great. I really appreciate you giving those insights because I think it's important as young people think about a career, knowing the lifestyle that accompanies that career. And I think, I think about you, Tammy, as a principal, it is kind of around the clock all the time. And important to shut it off at certain points, but being the leader and being someone that probably parents and students need to be able to get in touch with all the time if something comes up. Your willingness to do that and knowing that that is part of your job. Sometimes I think young people don't necessarily think about the lifestyle that comes with jobs and with careers. So I appreciate those insights. I think that's important to think about. Let's see. How about this one? What developments do you see that are on the horizon in education that could affect, future opportunities within the profession? Is there anything that you see coming down the pipe that is really exciting, or that you see poses, maybe it's the opposite, it poses a challenge to future educators and administrators?
I'll kind of go back to the hiring aspect and the practices that have been put into place to try to help attract people into education. And that goes to some of the unique programs that exist in our state to allow people with undergrad degrees to go back and get, do a couple of years and get an education degree to become teachers. One is the RAPPL program, and the other one is, I believe it's called the TIP program through Morningside. Those are the two I know of. That's something that's changed, that structured education teacher prep program. It's a little different, it's creative. And so that is a change that seems to be more utilized here as of late. Gosh, what else, Becky?
I think this year especially has shown us the good and bad of technology. I think it's also showing us that personalized learning has a role in the future. I think that we have to take the good things that we've learned and apply those to our future thought process. I think the governor right now is establishing an e-learning website where there's going to be some opportunities for that. There's new technology initiatives that are going to be moving into place in the next 2 years. I don't think you're going to stop that roller coaster. I think to stay competitive, we're going to keep moving along those lines. When Tammy talks about hiring, I will say, if you talk about the good and the bad, I love the fact that we have the clearinghouse in the state of Iowa. And I love the fact that we're looking at applied practices and teaching our kids real life skills and letting them do real life projects. Those kinds of things are exciting. We're moving in the right direction. Keep it coming. The hard part is that it takes resources, and a lot of them, and one of those valuable resources is good quality educators. And the state of Iowa is no different than the rest of the country, but we really have a hard time getting that increase, that surge of talented young people choosing the profession. In high school especially, if you look at the state and federal lists for teacher shortage areas, it's heavy, heavy, heavy on the high school side in all different curricular areas. And so that's something that, honestly, it's starting to hit us now. But as we move forward, by the time that I leave education, I think it's going to have a profound impact. I hope in the positive when students are choosing education as a career, but we have to understand there's going to be implications of that.
I'd like to add one thing very quickly to that I'm very proud of, and I owe credit to Becky and DMAC for this, is the fact that I believe we started a career focus a lot sooner than some schools did, and we kind of fell into that. But Becky has been extremely instrumental in what she had spoke about before, those authentic real world projects and connections. And to me, when I take a look at our percentage of students that are going to 4-year as opposed to 2-year, and you're starting to see a high increase in those 2-year students that are getting those technical degrees, which is what we really do need right now in certain areas like construction and HVAC and culinary. That's really important. And so those things were put into motion because of not only the work Becky's done as an instructional coach, but the work that you did in the classroom. And so I feel good about that. I think our students have benefited from that. I'd like to get back to more of that. And so once COVID lets up a little bit, we'll be able to do that because it really has limited those face-to-face opportunities.
Yes, that's great. I think it's really awesome that you provided that insight. I think sometimes too, when students are looking at different careers, they often don't know what else goes into that industry kind of on the back end. And so explaining those things is really valuable for students to start to kind of think about those things. What areas, if they are interested in education, are you thinking high school? Are you thinking the younger kiddos? And so that's really great. So to kind of wrap up here, speaking of kind of looking into the future, what would you give advice or what advice would you give young people who want to enter this field? Like anything that they should prepare for? Is there something that they could be doing? I know you mentioned, taking classes while you're in high school, but anything else or any type of advice you would give young people looking into becoming a teacher?
Well, I would make sure to learn as much about the profession as possible so that you understand what it really means to become a teacher. I would also, if I were a student graduating that was serious about becoming a teacher, I would want to be selective as to where I went to college and make sure that I'm going somewhere that has a strong teacher prep program and a great reputation in regard to that, because that training is really important. And now with COVID, having to do it through a computer is very difficult for the education field, because we are people persons, and we like to meet together, and you like to read body language and things like that. So that, and make certain you know your why. Why is it you want to go into education? You heard Becky's story. I mean, that is very real. And I can tell that as I have worked with her and worked for her. And so, you know, make sure that it's truly what you want to do, because you can make a huge impact on a student's life either way. So I guess that is a difficult question to answer, but that's probably how I would answer that.
Tammy, that's great advice. Follow up quickly. You mentioned, you know, make sure that wherever you pursue your education, they have a strong program. Off the top of your head, and you're not going to hurt our feelings, obviously DMACC, we don't have a 4-year teaching degree. What are some of those programs in the state that you would say have strong educational training programs?
Now you're putting me on the spot.
I know.
But, you know, I mean, honestly, we've gotten great candidates from all of our universities in Iowa. And so therefore I would advocate for any of those from University of Iowa, Iowa State, UNI, BV, Morningside, Cornell, got to throw a plug in there for them. I mean, we've had great candidate. Luther has a good, and they all have different specialties, you know. So I know Luther has a great music program. So somebody that has a degree in music education from Luther, okay? But I just know that from experience, and I mean, those would be ones I would mention.
Sure.
I think in secondary education, like I graduated from Iowa State. You know, UNI is known as the teacher college, but Iowa State had an amazing English department. So if I need to learn content in English and I had a natural desire to understand psychology, Iowa State was a beautiful fit for me. So is it necessarily known as a reputable teacher college? Maybe not, but I have a firm foundation in my content. So you really have to look at the program itself and then make that assessment.
Right.
Like if you want music, okay, Luther's a good fit, probably not a good fit for what my background was. So it's a little trickier than just saying like there's a blanket recommendation.
Right.
I think you have to really dig deep.
And I think that goes back to what you guys are trying to do so well at Carroll, is get students to begin with the end in mind, right? If they can have a better idea of what it is their end goal is and the career that they're wanting to pursue, then that helps make that college decision easier, because you know what to look for when you're visiting schools and talking with programs and things. So it all kind of comes full circle there. How about you, Becky? Any advice that you would give to young people?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are passionate and you know this is where you belong, and when you are working with young people, it energizes you and you have that professional fulfillment, there will be nothing that's going to stop you. Not the politics, not one angry parent, not one bad class. You know what I mean? Like those are all just life circumstances. They're going to happen at some point. But if you are really passionate and this is where you're meant to be, you will be able to figure out a way to work through all that. And the second thing I took for granted, and I didn't realize how valuable it was when I started, is that I joined a veteran department and they modeled professionalism, teamwork. I literally knew, this is long before there were mentoring programs, everything that's in place now, which is so awesome as a safeguard, those didn't exist 20 years ago. So you were kind of on your own. I mean, you literally just stepped foot in the classroom. There you go. And I had a department of 5 and 3 of them were veterans. and they had an open door policy. I could come in at any time. I could watch them. I could question things. If I had a rough day, I could break down in front of them. It was a safe zone. And then they also modeled for me professional behavior. This is what you do when you're part of a team. You show up. If a member of your team is feeling sick and you can help cover a class, you do that because that's what you do. When you're at professional development, this is how you behave. When there's job expectations, you fulfill them and you don't, you know what I mean? You don't miss deadlines. They encompassed what I needed to become, and they set such a high standard for me. And it was years after working with them that I came to appreciate that. Find your people, like find that person or team of people who you look up to, respect, who are positive, who are who you want to be, and emulate them and use them and go to them, because it has a profound impact on the rest of your entire career. And I just got lucky. It was true luck for those people being where they were when I started.
Awesome. Well, you guys, we have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation here, and we're right at about 25, 30 minutes. So I think we're going to wrap it up here, unless you have any last things that you'd like to share with potential future educators.
No, just thank you for the opportunity.
I would echo that. And thank you for your partnership.
And if anybody watches this video and graduates with a degree and wants to go anywhere, contact Carroll Community School.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Sounds good to
They'll
me.
be learning
Come back to
from
us.
two of the best. I really believe that. So again, Tammy and Becky, thank you so much for your time today and for all the advice and sharing your story as part of our Career Discovery Network Library. We really appreciate it. And again, thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.